Leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about learning from those who have walked the path before you. Welcome to the TEMSA Leadership Coaching Calls, where host Phil Sanderson, a national speaker, senior healthcare leader, and certified leadership coach, sits down with experienced EMS professionals to uncover their biggest lessons, toughest challenges, and best advice. Join us live, ask your questions, and take your leadership to new heights.
Good morning, everybody. We are geared up and ready to go. Thank you for joining. We are live here at the TEMSA Conference 2025, right here in the vendor hall. I'm just going to kind of do a little pan of all the vendors that are supporting this conference. It's been a fantastic week. We've had, I think yesterday, they said the attendance was about 500. One of the largest conferences of TEMSA thus far and growing every year. Great. It's been a great week. Thanks to kudos to the TEMSA board for doing a fantastic job again, and looking forward to coming back next year. I think you're going to find that our guest today is going to bring some interesting, unique approaches to leadership, a little bit different than what we've had in the past. His name is Chris Miller. You probably know him especially if you're from the Upper Cumberland area, because he is the EMS Chief for Cumberland County EMS. And his topic today is leading like a coach, earn trust and accountability. Chris, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining.
I appreciate you having me on. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, I told Chris this when we were kind of in the waiting room this morning. I said, now, Chris, as long as I've known you, you've always been a very humble individual, and you kind of listen, but man, when you speak, you always have something to say, and that's what I appreciate about you, and that's why you're on here. So don't hold back and tell us a bit more about yourself.
Well, like I said, I've been the chief here, or the EMS director here. I took over in 2016. Just a brief bio on myself: graduated York Institute in 1990. Got married in 1993 to my high school sweetheart. Joined the Air Force in 1993 as well. Was stationed in Alaska. My first child, Christian, was born in North Pole, Alaska. Got out of the military, got my went through the ranks, EMT IV a few years later, paramedic. My second child was born in 2005, which he now works with us here. He's an EMS as well, just got his advanced EMT. He's working with here at Cumberland County as well. So just proud to be here, and happy to be here with you guys today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, I learned something every time I sit down and talk to you, Chris. I didn't know that you were in the military. I know
Yep.
at Alaska, and so, gosh, that's great. Thank you for your service. Thank you
I appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So our topic today, Chris, is leading like a coach and earned trust and accountability, and we're going to get into that. Why would we have that as our topic? Because, and I'll just kind of give everybody kind of a little preview. Chris does some coaching and basketball and other sports, and he's going to talk about that and how he's brought that into his leadership ability. So to get us started off, Chris, tell us about some fire, chaos, and adversity you've led through, and then we'll move on to some more discussion.
Well, probably the best example of chaos and just overall rough period as far as in my EMS career was pretty early on, and when I took over as the director here at Cumberland County. We were, of course, I was a supervisor at the time when I moved, before I moved into that role. I knew we were in pretty bad shape, but I had no idea how bad a shape we were in as far as financially. We were 8-9 months behind on our billing. We had failed our audit for several years in a row, and actually were in danger of losing our EMS license. And when I took over, I found all this stuff out. Obviously, I didn't know it before I took over, but shortly thereafter, I did. I met with each one of my shifts, each one of my supervisors, everybody that worked here, and told them my vision. And to their credit, they got on board. and 100% was on board with it. We righted the ship. Uh, Thank goodness we're in really good shape right now as far as in pretty much every aspect. So we're proud to say that.
Yeah, well, gosh, I mean, that's the mark of a true leader when you come in the door and you face those challenges, especially you didn't know you was coming into, and you
Yeah,
you you take those immediate actions. So,
yeah,
if leading is like a coach, how do you tailor motivation? Because I can imagine when you were coming in the door and you were hit with that, you're like, okay, I got to figure out how to motivate these people. So, how do you tailor your motivation, earn the mutual trust? Because as we know, trust is earned, and you don't walk in the door as a pinnacle leader. You walk in the door as a title and a new guy, and they're like, "What's he going to do
right.
for us? Can we trust him?" And how do you hold each other accountable without losing the team along the way?
Well, I mean, one thing that was beneficial for me was, I came from the truck. My predecessor, he had never been on the truck. He was not even an EMT. He was a fire guy, which there's nothing wrong with that. But he had no background, so they knew what kind of leader I was from being a supervisor. My shift in particular knew what kind of supervisor I was, and I was pretty vocal on what my vision for it for this service was. And as I said, to their credit, they were 100% on board with it. Something that I've learned as far as, like you said, tailoring leadership uh, for individuals, employees, or player, that you're coaching or whatever. Each individual has their own personality, and each person is motivated in a different way. A Where you can get on this person pretty sternly, they may motivate them and make them work harder. This person over here, you get on them too hard, they may shut down. So you have to learn your employees, your players, and something else I've learned is each shift, we have three shifts, A, B, and C shift. Each shift even has their own personality. But you know, uh, thank goodness I've got some good people in leadership roles here that help me out with that. We've got some great employees here too that, like I said, that they do their job. They take pride in what they do. So, but they see that I take pride in Cumberland County, and that's where it starts at with me.
Yeah, well, good points, Chris. I mean, like you said, motivation, one size doesn't fit all. I mean,
No.
everybody is different.
Hmm.
Great coaches, as you said, knows their players are different. And you have to earn that trust at different levels with individuals. Trust is a two-way street.
Yeah.
Leadership is trusting your team. Yeah.
Well, something I tell every employee that comes to work with us, and I tell my employees a lot is, we base a large majority, if not all of what we do on trust. And trust, and it's something I say a lot is trust is hard to get, but it's easy to lose.
Mm,
Um, I trust that my employees are doing, the supervisors trust their employees are doing their job. I trust the supervisors are doing their job. And that goes hand in hand with success. And that's something we really work on here is earning trust and being consistent, and keeping that trust.
yeah. Spot on.
Yeah.
Well, you know, kind of thinking about another question here is how do you balance, being approachable and supportive like a coach, while holding your team accountable to those high standards? Because sometimes the people leaders don't always do that. And then people kind of put up a brick wall between you and them. So how do you balance being approachable and supportive like a coach, and then holding your folks accountable at the same time to those high standards?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, you have to be consistent. Biggest thing that I've seen as far as being approachable is intermingling with your employees, talk to them. I've had a lot of employees come and talk to me and ask advice about things that are even outside of EMS, major life decisions, and I take that. Uh, that's an honor for me for somebody to come and talk to me about. Like I said, pretty major life decisions outside of EMS that are even outside of EMS are not always to do with EMS. So that's something that I take pride in is people trust me and I try to stay approachable. I don't want people to to fear me, but I want them to know that they are going to be held accountable. Accountability and trust is a lot of what I base everything on. But consistency is a big thing for me. Is treat everybody the same, and be consistent.
Hmm. Yeah, and clarity also builds confidence in people
Right.
too. And Chris, when you and I talk, I never leave our conversation wondering what was that about. I mean,
Yeah.
you're very you're very well spoken. You make your point,
Right.
and it's always spot on. So I can imagine, as your employees talk with you, they don't have to wonder what you're thinking, what the
No,
expectations
I
are.
take and I tell every employee, of course, my role in the hiring and firing process. That's really I leave a large majority of that up to the particularly the hiring process. I leave that the interviews, but I do sit on the interviews, because I want to tell every employee that comes to work here what my expectations are, and I tell them that I take uh, my job extremely serious, but I'm very protective, not just of Cumberland County. Obviously, I'm very protective of Cumberland County and our brand, if you want to call it that. But I'm also very protective, even if they don't. When we do have EMT classes that we teach here, and not all of them come to work for us. But I do tell them, even if you don't work for us, I'm very protective of the profession, because this profession, not just Cumberland County, has been good to me. This profession's been good to me. So I'm very, very protective. Even if they don't work for me, I want them to be very clear on what their role is, and I want them to be prideful in what they're doing, because it's a great job, been a great job for me, and I want to instill that into people that I have influence over.
Well, influence is key in leadership, as we all know, and character defines what that influence is, good or bad. And
Mhm.
certainly, you described here, the saying of leading by example. When we were gearing up this morning, and for the audience that don't know, I mean, we get on this call before everybody else gets on, just to kind of do some run through and mic checks and so forth. There's always good conversation, and and Chris, you made a statement. You said one of my sayings, one of my quotes is there's a fine line between fear and respect.
Yes.
And as we're talking about this very topic here about people being able to approach you and expectations, you want to expand on your thoughts with that saying?
Yeah, and when I say yeah, and I say that with all sincerity, is there is a fine line between fear and respect. Um, uh, I do hold, like I said, I don't want people to, and kids that play for me in sports, or people that work for me. I don't want them to fear me, but I do want them to know that they are going to be held accountable. I'm not going to turn my eye and pretend that there's not an issue with whatever is going on. If an employee is showing up 15 minutes late, that's unacceptable. So I'm, they are going to be held accountable. But I'll also be your biggest advocate, and I'll stand behind you 100%. If you're doing your job, you're doing your best. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing very much, and that's with uh, sports as well as working here. We're not Nobody is infallible. You're going to make mistakes, and if you're not doing very much. But as long as I see you're got a good effort, I'm going to be your biggest advocate, but your biggest cheerleader, if you want to call it that. So, but accountability, I don't necessarily like the word fear, but I just want them to know, if fear is being held, if they fear being held accountable, then so be it, I guess.
Well, you just give us two really good examples, as we've mentioned probably on every call that we've done here, is failure is key to any success. If you're not failing and getting up and doing better, then you're not going to ever get your goals or reach your success level. And then the
Right.
other the other part, Chris, that you really uniquely put into your conversation with that same comment is another saying that we say is people will not give you their hand until they know your heart, because you exemplified in your comments there that you have a caring approach, but yet we're gonna hold the accountability here, and I'll be your
Mhm.
biggest cheerleader, and that's
Well,
fantastic.
yeah, and something I found is most people, and this the type of people that I want in this business, not just working for me in the emergency services business, is the people that want to be, and something you have to learn as being hired into an organization or being put on a team is you have to understand you're representing something greater than you as an individual. I tell people you're representing Cumberland County when you put the uniform on and you're on shift. You represent us, and even when you're off shift, you have to watch what you do because you represent something greater than you as an individual. You represent an entire organization, entire county. So take that serious and act accountable. And act accordingly.
Serve Strong, Corbin Scott Goode Memorial Foundation is proud to announce Corbin's Hometown Heroes 2025 Bash on October 4th, 2025 from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Fairfield Glade Community Center in Fairfield Glade, Crossville, Tennessee. You've never seen an event like this before. Tickets are limited and already being reserved because the demand is that high. 100% of the Hometown Heroes Bash will go directly to help first responders and their families. This incredible event will have an amazing buffet featuring barbecue chicken quarters, smoked sausage, pulled pork, soft drinks, beer, and wine for the first 2 hours, as well as a cash bar. And if that's not enough, there will also be an exciting live auction and a huge silent auction featuring worldwide vacations and once-in-a-lifetime experiences, autographed celebrity and sports memorabilia, designer jewelry, and handbags, as well as raffles giving away a wide variety of prizes. Do not miss your chance. Call your friends and secure your table of 8 now. Call Shannon McGee today for tickets and details at 931-260-1981. That's 931-260-1981, or visit servestrong.us. That's servestrong.us and click Bash. Serve Strong believes first responders are hometown heroes wherever they live. Come on out to Corbin's Hometown Heroes Bash event in Fairfield Glade, Crossville, Tennessee. Call 931-260-1981 or visit servestrong.us and click Bash.
Well, you've talked a little bit about your coaching, and your leadership style pertaining to coaching.
Mhm.
Is there a moment in your career with your coaching, your leadership, that you realized that you had a long-term impact on someone's life,
Yeah.
maybe you wasn't even aware of? So you want to share a story or a little bit about your coaching?
Yeah, I mean, and this goes several years back. The one that comes, the story that comes to mind is probably I'd say close to 25 years. It's been a long time ago, close to 20 years ago, anyway. But anyway, this young lady that I coached, I started coaching her when she was in fifth or sixth grade, and she played with my daughter. My daughter was on the same team. This young lady was she worked hard, but she was kind of when I use this term, I don't mean to sound negative, but she was one of the ones that was not picked. She didn't make her. I don't think she made her team the first year she tried out. It's kind of the Michael Jordan story. He didn't
Mhm.
make it till he was a sophomore, but she uh, she was kind of a castaway, if you want to call it that. She wasn't expected to do a whole lot athletically, but she worked hard. She wanted to be good, so she put in the time. She worked hard. She played for me from the time she was fifth, sixth grade till she was through high school. Um, and she when she was her senior year, I helped her get a college scholarship to play basketball. But the the major part of that story is when I was on shift. This is before I took over as director, but it goes to show you. And my wife used to, and she's asked me many times, why do you continue to coach? Because sometimes you know things don't go the way somebody gets mad at you or whatever. And I said it's not about the parents or the other team. It's about making connection with one kid that makes it worthwhile. But this young lady, like I said, her senior, well, actually, fast forward after she left me, she went to college, she called me one night. She still texts me to this day, but she called me when she was a senior at Tennessee Tech, and she said, "Coach Chris, I got a question and a favor to ask." And I said, "What's that?" She said, "I have to do my senior thesis, and the subject is most influential person in my life other than my parents." And she said, "And I want to do it on you." And very, very taken back, very honored to have her ask me to do that. So me and her have had a pretty special relationship, from sixth grade. But that just goes to show you what a little time and effort will do for an individual, for a kid, or for an employee, to give them that time and see what they can do. Yeah, that's one of the better stories, and I've shared that story many times because I take a lot of pride in that.
Well, and rightfully so. That's a fantastic story, Chris.
Right.
Congratulations on that success. And, another thing that we talk about, I think, every month when we come back here is our very first guest, Robert Bird. Many people know him. One of the things he shared with us the first time we did this call is that we will never know the impact we make on this side of heaven with most people. And
Right.
thankfully she shared that with you, because I know it's been an inspiration in your life.
Oh,
Well,
100%.
well, I told you this call goes by very fast. We're 20 minutes past the hour, getting ready for a few questions, and we've got a couple here in the chat room. But before we do, I'd like to kind of switch over to Eric Kloss. Eric is our host for our podcast, and Eric, you've been listening in. Any comments? Anything you want to add to what Chris has talked about today? Any points that you want to add to that?
I'm inspired by listening to Chris and hearing that. One of the things, Phil, that came to my mind is uh, every single person on this call and everyone that we come in contact with. You don't have to have an official title to be a person of influence and a coach, and we all need coaches. Truly, Phil, you have coached me for many, many years, and if you don't formally have a coach, there's ways that you can be mentored through podcasts, through books, through people of that have an official title, even from your children, your spouse. So I would just encourage everybody to really think of it that way. That we are all coaches, and we all need a coach. And Chris, your stuff is so inspiring, and I'm grateful that you let me share just a couple of comments.
Well, thank you.
Well, we have a question here in the chat room here. Chris, how do you effectively promote accountability while maintaining psychological safety?
Wow. Well, I guess consistency is, I hold everybody accountable. I hold myself accountable. Is that's kind of a hard question. I guess, like I said, just holding people accountable and being consistent with it, holding everybody accountable from top to bottom, including myself. And everything kind of works itself out from there. You start showing any kind of differential in employees. No, if it's a supervisor or somebody that's just been hired a couple of weeks ago, you have to hold everybody accountable, but you have to be consistent with it in how you deal with them. So consistency has always been something that I strive to try to do. So I guess that's the best way I can answer that. If that's not didn't answer your question, I apologize.
No, I think it's spot on. Consistency is key in anything that you're doing in leadership, and
Yeah.
you've talked about that. And everyone who's in leadership can vouch for that. And if you're not being consistent, then you're probably living a chaotic day by day. Because consistency also, breeds fairness. People
And,
see fairness in that. Yeah.
yeah, and something else is, you have you have to understand as a leader, there is no possible way that you're always gonna make everybody happy. You have to, as a leader, you have to make hard decisions based on what's best for your organization. there's going to be people, 50% of them, I happen to be a TSSAA referee as well. And I say, in the same token is any decision that you make or any call you make as a TSSAA official, 50% of the gym or 50% of your employees are going to agree with it. 50% of them ain't. And you have to understand, and they have to understand that you're not making those decisions based on this individual's preference or this individual's preference. You have to accept that there's going to be people that's not going to agree with what you do and move forward. Do what's best for your organization and move forward with it, and let the chips fall where they may, I guess you could say.
Well, Chris, I got to tell you, kudos to you for being a ref. 'Cause that's one thing I would never want to do. Gosh, I've seen some
Yeah,
crazy people get crazy over that.
they do, but
it's
I enjoy
crazy.
it. I enjoy it. I've played it, coached it, now I referee it. So
Gosh, man. We got time for another question or two if anybody's got any more. Let's see. We got another one here. Who is the best coach or leader you've had, and what made them stand out to you?
wow. Well, and when I say this is going to sound like I'm sucking up,
No.
but I will say probably the best leader that I've dealt with in a long time. And like I said, you know, don't throw rocks at me when I say this, but I tell you, my county mayor up here in Cumberland County is he's a fantastic leader. He is one of and actually he got EMS Advocate of the Year back a couple of years ago up the TEMSA Conference. But he is so supportive in what we do down here. I think he got voted in a couple of years after I got hired in as EMS director. He got voted in as county mayor, and he has been so supportive of us and helped me in so many different ways, getting equipment that we need, and so I would have to say that he's probably the best leader that I've had for sure in my EMS career. As far as coach that I've had so many coaches over the years, I couldn't really, it'd be hard for me to narrow it down and say which one's better than the other. But as far as true leader, our county mayor up here does a fantastic job for us and for all departments, not just EMS. He does a fantastic job for all departments up here in Cumberland County.
Well, I definitely believe that. I've had the privilege of having a few interactions with Mayor Foster, and I can see that in him. I don't know him nowhere near you do. I see him, in acquaintance and meetings and so forth, but I can definitely see why you would say that he's a very humble individual. Seemed like a great person.
Yeah.
So getting down, we got maybe time for one more question. Let's see here. What is something you wished a past leader had done differently that would have helped you grow?
I guess, and like I said, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'll just put it this way. We had a previous director here. I wish he would have been a little bit more engaged, because he was not present. He was never here, and I know I keep using these sayings, but it's true. If you've ever been on a boat with a plug out of the back of it, and as long as you're moving, you're in pretty good shape. As long as you sit still, you start sinking. We sat still and we had our plug out of the back of our boat here for many years, and we were sinking and we were nearly below water. And I wish he would have been a little bit more engaged. Of course, I say it would have made my job a little easier when I took over, but it made me a better person, and it brought us closer together. Adversity will bring you closer together, and I've even said COVID brought us closer as an organization, because it was kind of us against the world, it seemed like, during the COVID pandemic. But those trials and tribulations like that just make you stronger and make you better in the long run. So maybe it wasn't such a bad thing.
Well, Chris, I gotta tell you, brother, I had some thoughts for wrap up, but I can't top that. That about the boat. As long as you keep moving, but if you stop, you're sinking.
You're sinking.
I'm not even going to. You wrapped us up there, brother. That was fantastic. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. But everybody, Chris, thank you so much for joining. I knew going into this was going to be an awesome call. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I know you have a little drive to your office. Thank you for getting up early and getting there and joining us. Eric, thank you as our other special guest for popping in on this episode. Everybody that joined us this morning, thank you for getting up and joining us. Remember, we do this every single month because the most important person you'll ever lead is yourself. Come back next month, September 5th. We got a special 1 hour episode, Women in Leadership. We're going to have coming back to this call Joyce Knowles, Shannon Morphus, April Miller, and Willow Chavez, all our EMS leaders and chiefs across the state. We're going to bring them in. We're going to have women on leadership for 1 hour. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a great call. And remember, as I said earlier, coming soon, we will be switching over to a new platform. We'll give you more information. Everybody have a blessed day. And I look forward to seeing you on September 5th with our 4 ladies and for 1 solid hour. Thank you so much.